your life?
How the heck am I going to stay sober at this holiday party? This is a question I used to ask myself all the time, especially in early sobriety. It was, I don't know, I went to these parties that were like big time holiday parties, just like people just getting plastered. And this was a common, I look forward to the holidays for this reason, especially. And, everybody just gets completely wasted and myself, I was included in all that. And then I got sober. Then I had to figure out a way to stay sober at these holiday parties. And we're going to talk a bit more about that today in today's show. And how are you, Marcus?
Doing pretty good. Yeah, I think holiday parties is a good topic to go over, especially since we have a lot of people that are going to go to parties. Now, for
Yes.
me, it was different. I work from home, so I mean, if I had an office party, it'd just be at my house. So it wouldn't be a whole lot going on there. And we have people that work all over the world, so we don't really have a local group. And I found that, for me, the holiday parties would be mostly family stuff and
Yeah.
maybe an occasional church kind of get together or whatever back when I went to church. And it was interesting because, a lot of people don't understand the alcoholic. And I think that's where the miscommunication comes in, and that's where the feelings of guilt and shame come in because of the stigma. I was reading something just last night about a major church denomination that they'd have like a Bible college, and they would bring all the applicants in, and they'd kind of shame them about the stuff that they did. And I think that's kind of how our culture is about alcoholism. And they bring them in and they'd be like, hey, did you sleep with your girlfriend before marriage? Oh, well, you should be going in the corner and feeling bad about yourself. And I'm like, wait a minute. Is this really productive? Is this, do we need to feel bad about ourselves? Is that what we need to do? And I think oftentimes the alcoholic feels the same way, where we feel ashamed of ourselves or down on ourselves because we can't drink. And I think it's the exact opposite. I think it's
Yeah.
taking the power back of I choose not to drink.
Right.
And I don't have to get drunk to have fun. And people can offer me drinks, and I could say, "Hey, I'm just not drinking anymore because I choose to, not because I'm an alcoholic and I can't drink and I really want to, but I can't." It's really about I don't want to because I know what it does. I know what's going to happen. If I was to name the last party that I got drunk at and had a really good time, I really couldn't name it because my memory of it is distorted because I was drunk. Therefore, my perception of having a good time probably wasn't. Case in point, a time when I used to do my Vegas meetings for my other business. And Vegas is a place where, is basically you get alcohol free everywhere. As long as you're putting quarters in the slot machine or standing around the slot machine, you can get whatever drink you want. And I thought that I used to have a good time there. And then, I'd come home with like a bruise on my head and vaguely remember being carried up to my room. And I'm like, was that really fun? Or do I have more fun now that I'm coherent? And I think that's really what we got to look at here is understanding that you can have a good time being you without being drunk.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we need to get back to. So, what are your thoughts on that, Terry?
Well, I think that first of all, for you guys out there, I'm sure some of you have dealt with holiday parties or any party sober and trying to get through it, and you've experienced some of the issues that we all have. For me, let me tell you a bit about my history with the holiday parties after I got sober. So I got sober it was August when I got sober. So the holidays were coming up. I was still, pretty early in sobriety. So that's what, 4 or 5 months when the holiday parties started. And like I said, I used to get invited to quite a few. Also, I was in catering, which the from next week and for the 2 weeks after that is always the busiest time of the year for caterers. And we catered, obviously, lots of Christmas parties. And for the person in early sobriety, like let's say this is your first few months or less, or maybe a little more, you got to go into it with a game plan as far as how you're going to stay sober, not just go blindly and think, I'm going to drink water. Maybe figuring out a favorite non-alcoholic drink that you're going to enjoy during that party or something like that. I'd always bring a LaCroix water or something like that. Bring a 6 pack. Actually, I started bringing 12 packs because I'd break it out, and the normal drinkers would say, "Hey, can I get one of those?" Because they don't have to have alcohol. But that early sobriety is a time to really be careful. But continuing on in sobriety, every year I have to watch it. And, for me, that first few months, I just didn't go to those parties, even though I really wanted to. I didn't go to too many. There's one that we have every year, and I got to tell you guys what it is. It's my dog park Christmas party. We've been, I've known these people for 30 years, so we have a little get together in the winter. We have a get together in the summer, but those guys, they love to drink, and that's what the experience was. But I did that the first year I got sober. But I showed up on time when the party starts, and then I left early. You could tell. It may take a little bit of experience figuring out when people are starting to get kind of tipsy and stuff. But when they started to get a little bit drunk, that's when I left. I just felt that was appropriate. That's what I do now. I show up on time to parties. I leave a little bit early, say goodbye to a couple of people. That's it. I don't have to go around and say goodbye to every single solitary person in the place. It's okay. They're not going to be mad. But as far as the drinking itself during the party, nobody's ever pressured me. And I'm sure some of you have experienced the pressure of people, saying, "Hey, try this shot of whatever it is," but it's not that difficult to just say, "No, I'm not drinking tonight," or "I'm not drinking right now," or whatever, or just "No, thank you." That's what I've always said, is just "No, thank you." They don't need an explanation. I don't have to explain to them that I'm sober and not drinking. Actually, most of the people that know me, they know I'm not drinking, so they're not going to, pressure me into it. They support that. They knew me when I was a drunk. They're like, "Good. I'm glad you're not drinking." So, that's super helpful to have that support, and also going to the party with somebody that might also be sober, or at least knows your situation, and maybe they're just going to have one or two or something like that, and you'll be like, "Well, I'll drive then since I'm going to be sober," that sort of thing. That's helpful too, but. It's really important to go into this with the right sober mindset that we talk about all the time. And that's that just drinking's off the table, and I don't need to drink to have fun. And I tell you, I have a lot more fun at parties not drinking. That's for sure. I was like Marcus's story about Vegas, that I would drink a couple before I went to the party to make sure I had enough in me. Then I drank a lot during the party, and then it'd just be ugly. I wasn't myself, obviously, from drinking too much, and I had to stop, and stopping and going to these parties without drinking, it's a wonderful experience now, and I can participate in everything at the party, and I can have intelligent conversations and not make a fool out of myself. It's awesome, and it's a great way to live. It's just sober Christmas parties. Now, the catering part of it, that's kind of the other side where we would do food. And, a lot of our Christmas parties are at these boutique bars in San Francisco, and drinking is heavy at those things. And, every single time the bartender comes in the back, it's the holidays, he comes back and says, "Hey, what do you want to drink?" And, people I'm working with are, "Yeah, I'll take a martini, or I'll take a beer," or whatever. And me, I'm just like, "You got Pellegrino?" "Yeah, I got Pellegrino. Yeah, I'll take one of those." Cool. They don't care. They don't care if they're giving you alcohol or not. And, same experience. It's at the end of the night of the catering job, all the other people I'm working with, because they had a couple drinks, they're all tired, and they want to sit down, and I'm like, "Let's go. Let's clean up." I'm full of energy, ready to go. Keep it going. So it's a good thing to stay sober.
Yeah, and Johnny Cola says, "I've been tempted to feel like drinking. I'm not optimistic about anything particular at this time of year. I really hate New Year. I always have." Well, I think it's interesting to look at, first of all, the issue of being tempted to feel like drinking. We can be tempted, we can have thoughts, and we can have cravings, but we don't have to act on them. Oftentimes we feel like there's this scarcity in our life. Like if we don't get what we want, we'll never get it. Like, oh my God, I have to have a drink right now. And if I don't get it right now, I'm never going to get it. And I need to have that feeling right now. And I'm the center of the universe and the whole world needs to, and it's like, okay, why? I remember years ago, I was dealing with this OCD issue, and it was very difficult. It was something that would happen when I was driving a car, and this thought would come in my brain, and it would drive me nuts. So much to where sometimes I'd have to pull over and call someone and be like, "Oh my God, I'm having this issue," and I realized, I first of all, I wasn't alone in that issue, and second of all, I realized after sobriety, I would have never realized this while drinking. That's the beauty of sobriety is you get to understand how your brain works, and I got to understand that it was chemical. Chemicals produce the craving. Might have a chemical. You said, you're not optimistic. Not being optimistic produces a chemical, and our dog's in here to see us. But it produces a chemical, and it makes you think and feel a certain way. But whoever said that what I feel like I need to get? Whoever said that I'm the
Yeah.
king and I should get whatever I want? And I think this is the problem in our society is we're a society that's all about consuming and having and getting and attaining and going after and we pride ourselves on the things that we buy and the things we drink. Like look at the commercials. Oh, he's the most interesting man in the world because he has a certain type of beer. Is that what makes you interesting? I mean, I guess. I don't know. I'd like to think someone is interesting because they're interesting to talk to and they have a different philosophy of life and a different way of looking at the world, not because of what they drink. And we have to look at that. Like, you wouldn't do that for anything else. Like, I don't be like, hey, dude, Terry, you know, uh, what kind of probiotics you rocking these days? Yeah, he'd be like, what are you talking about? Like, why do you care about what kind of like weird yogurt stuff I drink for my stomach? You don't care. And it's the same way with money. We don't care if people have stuff. Like if I had 50,000 boxes of Tide detergent in my garage, you wouldn't care. You'd be like, dude's a hoarder. He might need some professional help. But if I had a bunch of money, the same amount of money that it costs to get all that stuff, people would look at me and be like, okay, well, he's got this. And we need to really flip the script because even when you look at this time of year, and I remember it very vividly because my dad hated this time of year. He was not the Christmas guy. He did not have the Christmas spirit. He dreaded it. And we lived in Southern California and be like, the dark ages are coming and it's going to be cold. And I'm like, dude, the dark ages were in the 1400s when like Joan of Arc was around. It just gets dark at 5, dude. Chill. It's going to be okay. You watch TV and turn the fireplace on because, lo and behold, in Southern California, it's 60 degrees. Oh my God, get the jackets out. And we have all these conceptions in our brain, and my dad would get all bent out of shape about, the dark ages are coming. And he put the name to it and his big thing. And I'm like, no, it's not. It's like a couple of leaves fall off of a tree, and you have to wear a light sweater in the evening, and that's about it. So when we look at like hating these time of year, like I hate New Year, there's nothing to hate about New Year. It's just a day, comes and goes. You could call it January umpteenth day. Who gives a rip? It was made up. It doesn't even exist, right? The time constraints that we have don't exist. And this is one of the interesting things we talked about on our program where we talked about the billionaires going to space, right? Once you get out of the atmosphere of the Earth, time doesn't exist. Like the planets aren't out there going, it's almost January 1st. We better order that keg. Jupiter's going to want to get hosed this year. And we don't have this stuff. So it's all made up in your mind. And we have to understand that I am not a victim of my mind anymore. I'm not a victim of my cravings. I'm not a victim of all the things that I think I need to do or all the things I think I need to have or want or desire. Because in the long run, it doesn't really give you what you want. And there's a quote by Jim Carrey, beautiful quote. And he says, I wish everyone could get rich and famous so that they realize that that's not what they wanted. And I botched the quote, but you get the idea. And here's a guy who made, $500 million, I think. and
Yep.
he's got everything he wants. Everyone looks up to him, everything he wants. And he says, "Hey, I wish you guys could get all this, so you realize that life isn't about all this." And when we look at this and we understand, oh, I got to go to that party, I got to understand this, I need to go over here and do this, or I feel like drinking, or I don't like New Year's, or whatever. I want you to flip the script on it and say, well, what is it I don't like? Do I actually not like the day? Because I mean, you could cut it out of your calendar if you want. You can go to bed that day. You could work that day. Like for me, I don't particularly like birthdays. I don't like people celebrating my birthday. I don't know why. I just don't. I don't like people getting me things. I don't like. It's a weird thing. And I could go around life and be like, oh, I don't like birthdays. Damn it, take that damn present back. We don't want to do anything. Or I could just be like, hey, you know what? People want to do something nice for me. That's cool. If that's what they want to do. If I don't like birthdays, whatever. It's neither here nor there. But I think the danger comes when we say I, and then put something after it. I have a craving. No, no, no. My brain has a craving because it calculates. I don't like New Year's. Oh, well, you probably had a bad experience on New Year's one day, and your brain probably remembers it. You probably got drunk. I know my brain liked to forget all the times that I got drunk so that I could continue drinking, thinking it's going to be different than the times that I forgot. Yet it never was different, but I kept doing the same thing over and over, trying to get different results. Which not only is that the definition of insane, but I had to admit that it was also the definition of a drunk, an alcoholic who was chemically dependent, who needed to get sober. And when we start to realize these things, I think it really helps because the stigma is what keeps so many of us stuck.
Yes, indeed. Hey, I wanted to, since you're going with some comments, we're going a little early on that. That's all good. Desiree said, I underestimated Thanksgiving being a tough time, and it was my first sober holiday. I should have had a plan, and that's true. Yeah, I already mentioned that. My ego almost got the best of me, and later down the comments, you said, where was it? You said, I feel like a family get together will be a good tester holiday for me. Or do you guys think strangers, friends would be easier? Well, you got to look at the situation. Everybody's family is different. Is it going to be a toxic situation where, it's going to trigger you? Sometimes some people's families trigger them. Maybe there's a lot of judgment going on. Maybe they're super heavy drinkers. Or maybe they're just, I don't know, a normal family. I put that in quotes because I don't think any family is normal, but, just they're gonna have some cocktails and maybe one or two people are gonna drink a little too much or something like that. If the latter is the case, maybe the family thing is a good thing, especially if they know you're sober because they might support you in that situation. And that's kind of the way I'd lean if that's the case. Of course, if it's gonna be a toxic situation and you're worried about getting triggered, that's something to think about. Maybe that's not the place to try even go to the holiday event or anything like that. So it's something you really need to think about. But for me, hanging out with friends, that sort of thing, the holiday get-togethers with friends was easier. Going to some work party where people don't know or they don't know my situation or anything like that. Well, a work party might be a little different because you do have accountability. You can't get completely wasted because you might get fired. But, some other Christmas party that you really don't know very many people or one or two or something, that might be more of a dangerous situation. Too easy to just grab that drink, get that thought in the back of your head. Oh, nobody's going to know, well, that might be the ticket to starting drinking again. Maybe yes, maybe no. But for me, I know it would be. So that's it's something you really have to look at, definitely. But
Absolutely.
right? Where is it? I'm just trying to find this other one. I think it was Grim Reaper that said it, or it's Scott Hardy. Good to see you, Scott. That you said that you're going to have your non-alcoholic drinks prepped and ready to go. So my go-to is club soda and fresh limes. There you go. I've said it many times in these shows that Figure out what you like to drink. 7 Up with a splash of cranberry, something like that, or the Pellegrino, bring Pellegrinos or whatever. Something non-alcoholic that is special. Not something you drink every day. Something special so that you feel like, you kind of have that feeling of, oh, this is cool. I like this. Give you a little bit of a special feeling. But that's a good way to go about it. That's just one of the little tools you can use to help yourself stay sober in those parties.
Absolutely. And congrats to Amy on 64 days. Congrats to someone on 68. I saw a 68. There we go. Desiree. And then I think we had a 2 year down there somewhere too. Who had the 2 years?
And Timberwolf's got 2 weeks, and
Awesome.
oh no, THC's got 2 weeks. Timberwolf's got 18 months. Sorry, but good job, awesome.
And 2 years for Jared.
Scott's got 16 days. I think he said that. Right on. 112 days, Grim Reaper. Yeah, I think we doubled a couple of them, but good job,
That's
everybody.
right. That just means they have to stay sober twice as long. There you go.
That's right. Timberwolf says getting sober is hard. Every moment we stay sober is an accomplishment. Yeah. And for me, getting sober was hard for me, but staying sober isn't as hard for me. Definitely not. Some people it is. But if you do that little bit of consistent work, that's what our program talks about, just changing that mindset, getting yourself in the sober mindset, working in the right direction for sobriety, then for me, it's become much easier.
Absolutely. And I think it's also the mindset of, do you want it to be hard or do you want it to be easy?
Right?
It really is as easy as not drinking. Like that's the easy thing. Like if someone's like, hey, how do I, climb up a mountain? Well, you put one foot in front of the other till you're up the mountain. That's the easy answer. The hard answer is, well, Mount Everest is kind of a big mountain, and putting one foot in front of the other is a little amateur hour compared to what you're actually going to have to do. And not drinking is the step. Like you can't get sober unless you don't drink. Like if you continue to drink, you're not going to be sober. But then we have to look at, okay, how are we going to deal with the things that come our way? And I think that the big thing is, well, I'm not going to drink no matter what. Like there is nothing worth drinking over. Because there comes a time in your sobriety where you get tested and it's like, okay, things are going bad. I don't know what to do about it. I could drink. Yeah, you could drink. All right, is it going to make it better? Probably not. If you're like hanging out here and you're like, okay, how do I stay sober because my life got destroyed by alcohol? It's probably not going to work well. Okay, it might make you forget for a little bit, but it probably is going to put you back right where you were. So instead, what if I say, well, what's going to happen if I stay sober through this? Okay, the thoughts and feelings aren't going to kill me, right? So like, let's say something tragic happens, like when I found out my dad was sick, or big things when you find out a loved one dies, or finances, or a job, or whatever. All of these things that you have, right, that come your way, you get the feeling, and it's uncomfortable, and you want to escape it. But I want to challenge you, because the feeling is uncomfortable and bad because we say it's uncomfortable and bad. Wait a minute, Marcus, what are you talking about? Well, when you look at grief, is that a bad thing? Is it something we need to escape from? Or do we just need to feel it? Do we need to just be like, hey, I lost someone I cared about. It's okay to grieve. Or, hey, I lost my job, or things aren't going my way. And the thing about life that's funny is it's funny because a lot of sober people and a lot of people in recovery talk about living life on life's terms. And it sounds kind of weird. Like, live life on life's terms. Well, when I was born, I didn't get a book that said, here's life's terms, go live life on life. What does that even mean? Well, let's unpack that. What that means, to me, is that life is not just yours. Right? For you to get a job, someone probably has to not have a job. Sometimes. For you to have something, someone has to not have something, or whatever. Okay, now, I personally believe that if everyone, got in line with the way we're supposed to live. There's plenty of stuff on earth for everyone, but we don't live that way. We live in a scarcity based mindset, which is probably why a lot of us are neurotic messes. But we have to understand that with life, it's not just meant for the earth to spin around you. I'm also here in life. Terry's here in life. There's lots of people. You're one of 8 billion people. The earth spins for all of us and none of us at the same time. Even if none of us were here, the earth would still spin. It's an interesting thought. And if we look at that and understand that, I'm going out and getting drunk over what I want. Oh, I got a flat tire on my brand new car. Brand new cars aren't supposed to get flat tires. I've spent good money. Who gives a shit? People get flat tires all the time. People get pumped up tires all the time. People drive old cars and new cars. Is there really that much of a difference? Not really. After a while, like I've had it where, you get the new fancy car. And you're like, this is pretty cool for like a month. And then after the month, you got to look for something else new and fancy because you're bored with your car. And after a month, it doesn't make a difference driving in your new car versus your old car because it's just a car. It's from point one to point B, A to B, one of those, right? And we're making all these big things in our life and thinking that we are the center of the universe, or at least I was. And where's it getting us? Well, it got me drunk.
Yes.
Is that winning? I don't think so.
Right. Oh, I wanted to go back and say happy birthday, Marjorie. Is that what it is? Where is it? Anyways, 36 years. That's awesome. It's great to have somebody with a lot of sobriety on here. Huge. I have a lot of friends that have decades of sobriety as well. And when I talk to them, they're the way they stay sober. Ask them, what do you do to stay sober? They keep it simple, just like what we're trying to talk about. What Marcus was kind of talking about is that control. And I think somebody else just mentioned the serenity prayer, and that's a huge part of sobriety is just, I don't have control of very much in my life, and then what I do have control over, I need to deal with that. But when I really look at it, I don't have control over a lot of things in life. So I really need to take care of myself and what I can do. And that's a huge tool for sobriety for me, is just letting go of so much in life and just kind of working in a sober way what I can do. The one things, one particular friend of mine that has they have like 3 decades of sobriety, and she was saying, she made a really good point. She's like, I may have 3 decades away from the last drink, but I am 1 drink from being 0 days of sobriety again. And so she tries to keep that in mind all the time, and I'm sure that's something that's in the back of Marjorie's mind. If it's not in the front, same thing. We're 1 drink away from that insanity. That's where I am. So I have to try to stay sober. And there's many things I do every day, but one of them is helping other alcoholics. That's a huge thing for me. And I some people, it's not really possible for them to go and help other alcoholics a lot, but you can help through all of your life. You can, take care of things that you didn't used to take care of in your house. Do the vacuum, wash windows, do things like that. A friend asks you to help them move. Or holding the door open for somebody at a supermarket. Just being nice to people. There's so many ways we can help. And, I've had people come to me many times, couple weeks, couple months down the road and say, hey, you know what you said that one time? I'm like, what are you talking about? You said this. And I'd be like, really? That helped you? Wow. Okay. So, just being kind and tolerant and loving to other people. That's a great way to help people, and stay sober yourself. So,
Absolutely.
yeah. What do we got here? Let's look at some more comments here. See, Grim says, when I started trying to get sober, I used to keep booze on hand and have a shot every now and then to remind myself how bad it was for me. But then I realized all my drunk scars were a reminder enough. Yeah, for me, I wouldn't be able to do that. I couldn't take a shot to remind. If I took a shot to remind myself, my mind would remind myself that good feeling. All that dopamine would be released immediately, and I would think that good feeling, and I'd start to chase it again. This is what happened with me when I was in my heavy drinking, is I was trying to chase that euphoria I would get when I'd take a few drinks, and then I'd feel that relaxation. And it would happen that I'd had that feeling for a while, but as I kept drinking and kept drinking, that feeling would become less and less until eventually it was just, maybe a couple of minutes, and then I'd be trying to chase it again, and then I'd just drink until I blacked out and wake up and try again, try and relieve that anxiety and the uncomfortable feeling of getting sober and having to deal with life. Is just not a good way to live life.
True. Very true.
Timberwolf says, I like to compliment people in grocery store on their clothing or haircuts. Great. That's awesome. Yeah, complimenting. Good job.
All right. Well, is there any standout comments there? I'm trying not to talk too much because
Oh, okay.
my cough is. If I talk too much, my cough gets going.
Yep. Scott says, I really focused on letting life just happen. Control what I can, shrug the rest, no stress, just enjoy life for what it is. As Terry says, gratitude is so important, humility and kindness. Absolutely, Scott. Yeah, gratitude, humility, and kindness. When I first got sober, one of the first tools or ways of life, I guess it was a tool in the beginning, was writing down what I was grateful for. When I first got sober, the only thing I really had to be grateful for, that at least what I was thinking at the time, was the fact that I was still alive and I didn't feel like I had to drink. But that's huge, especially that feeling of that I don't need a drink right now. I was very fortunate in the fact that I did not have too many cravings after I got sober. But that was what I started with. And I was told that I had to continue on this journey of gratitude. And now it's not a tool, it's a way of life. And I just try to be grateful. I shouldn't be here. I was very close to death, and if there wasn't somebody there and all these different circumstances didn't happen, I would not have survived. But I did. And so I look at life as I get to do this stuff. And even those things that I don't like so much, I still get to do them. Because they get me to the other side, and maybe I get to do something I want to do. So that's what I try to think of. Whoa, you're playing the harmonica, are you?
It's my phone.
Marcus gets to play the harmonica on his phone.
There you go.
I think I have an app for that somewhere.
Yeah.
Anyways, but that's gratitude is a huge thing, and the other thing that Scott's saying, which I've already alluded to, is to control what I can and shrug the rest. That's what I really pushed for in that first year of sobriety, to get me into that sober mindset, that sober way of life, which was just trying to do things that don't stress me out. And that was trying to just enjoy life and not force myself into situations where I was going to be uncomfortable. Those situations are going to happen, but try not to invite them in so much. And that tended to steer me in the right direction, really. It's a helpful thing to go through in life, is just, not bring on that stress.
Absolutely. Cool. Well, I don't think if there's any major questions, we can end a little early today. What do you think?
Yeah, that's fine. Absolutely. If any of you have any things you want us to talk about, let us know right now. But I'll touch on Desiree's last comment. Some of the best people I know are sober alcoholics because their new outlook on life and living in gratitude. I would agree with that. That's why I spend a lot of time with sober alcoholics, because many of their attitudes. Some of them are grumpy sober alcoholics, but most I know are not. But you know, you're going to get that no matter where you go. So you're going to get people that you like and people that maybe you don't like so much.
Mm-hmm. All
Yeah.
right. Cool.
Scott says just leave. Yeah, always have a way out from a party. Definitely. If you can drive yourself, that's a great way to go. So, yeah, it's great to see you all today. If you guys want more sober stuff and more sober information, we have a program, and it's on talksober.com, and we talk about that, what we've been talking about today, a lot of the stuff. We talk about changing that sober mindset. There are a bunch of letters. There's 30 letters, and they talk a lot about what Marcus wrote the letters, and I have interpreted them into videos. And there's a little exercise to go with each day. This program is meant to be done in 30 days, but you can do it at whatever pace you want. And it gives a lot of great information. This is stuff that I wish I knew when I was still drinking and I was trying to get sober. So this really kind of gives you a real clear outlook on how to stay sober, how to change the way you think. And that's an important thing. This is a mental disease. So after you get over that physical cravings, then you got to work with the mental aspect of it. And it's a difficult thing. So we have each day, there's one, day 3, retrain the brain. And there's lots of great information. Also on our website at talksober.com, you can click on there and join our Facebook group and just ask for approval, and I'll check you out and approve you. There's lots of good conversations, lots of good advice there. And yeah, and you can also get a one-on-one call with Marcus and myself, and that would be right on private call with Marcus and Terry. So click there, and yeah, check out our program. We got lots of tools and PDFs to stay sober.
Definitely, guys, and that's all over at talksober.com if you want to support the channel and support what we're doing here and get all kinds of tools to help you get and stay sober. As Terry said, you could go to talksober.com, click the big yellow button. It'll take you to this sign-up page here. It's only $27 a month. You can cancel whenever you want. You just put your info in here. It'll give you instant access to all of the materials, the PDFs, everything like that. You can also do the sobriety call and check out the other resources we have over at talksober.com.
And join us here every week, same time.
Every Thursday, 11 a.m. All right, guys, I think that's about it for today. Stay sober through the holiday parties. I'm going to try to get my voice working properly for next week, and we'll see you then. You guys have a good one.